when understanding becomes a burden. You have always believed that the more you understand, the better life becomes. That if you could just decode yourself, you would finally find peace. We grow up with that belief. We learn to analyze our emotions, to explain our behavior, to name our wounds, to understand our motives. And then we think, if we understand it all, we will finally feel lighter. But the deeper you go, do you notice? More and more questions arise. More and more concepts begin to overlap. More and more nameless doubts creep in. You have probably spent hours just sitting there, asking yourself, who am I? Why am I like this? Do I truly understand myself? Or am I just trying to make sense of it all? Sometimes, it feels like you are staring into a foggy mirror, and the harder you try to see clearly, the more your reflection breaks apart into scattered pieces. Fragmented, unclear, neither real nor false. Maybe you once read a book, or someone said to you, everything is just perception, and you sat there, still, in a quiet afternoon, and suddenly, you wondered, if everything is just perception, then what is perceiving the perception? One layer of thought begins to flow, then another, and another, like endless loops. The deeper you dig, the further you are from hitting bottom. Have you ever felt like you were diving deep into the ocean, only to realize the deeper you swim, the farther you drift from the ground? You no longer know which way is up. You no longer know what is true. That feeling is not ignorance. It is too much knowing. It is not delusion. It is a kind of over-awareness, one that leaves you disoriented. And slowly, you begin to realize, maybe, the problem is not that you do not understand. Maybe, you are trying to understand something that was never meant to be understood. A friend once said to me, I started meditating to find some peace. He sat down, took a breath, observed his thoughts, did not react, just watched. But instead of stillness, he heard thousands of voices in his head, thoughts from the past, worries about the future, judgments, memories, imaginings, resistance, control. He said, the more I tried to be still, the louder it got. And for a brief moment, he realized, the one observing was also the one creating all that noise. Do you see what that means? It is like trying to be the one holding a mirror, the reflection in the mirror, and the mirror itself, all at the same time. Those three cannot coexist, but we try. We try to live while watching ourselves live, while analyzing why we are living the way we do. And little by little, your mind becomes a labyrinth. Every door you open leads to another hallway. No exit, no ending. Just the spinning between countless levels of awareness. If you have ever lain in bed, in the quiet of the night, eyes wide open, and suddenly felt more awake than ever, not because of coffee, not because of noise, but because you could hear yourself thinking, then you understand. You have entered the realm of thought experiments. Questions that seem harmless, but gently shake the foundation of everything you once believed in. Close your eyes, relax your shoulders, exhale slowly, and come with me on a journey where there is no destination, only open-ended questions, quiet paradoxes, and a silence deep enough for you to hear the shattering of what once felt certain. Who are you when everything has changed? Imagine a ship leaving the harbor. It is an old ship. Every plank, every sail, every anchor rope has been with it for centuries. It is the ship of Theseus. And over time, the planks begin to rot. One by one, people replace them with new wood. A torn sail is patched. A broken wheel is swapped out. A rusty railing is removed. And like that, year after year, until every single part of the ship has been replaced. Now, here is the question. Is it still the same ship? If not a single original piece remains, is this new ship the original, or merely a replica? Now, replace the ship with yourself. Since the moment you were born, you have changed. Every cell in your body has been renewed countless times. Your skin, your blood, your bones, all different now. There is not a single piece of your childhood body left. And it is not just physical. Your thoughts have changed too. You used to believe the world was simple. Then you learned it is not. You once loved someone you thought would be forever, and one day, you no longer recognized them or yourself. You had dreams and let them go. You once hated something and became the very person who does it. Everything has changed. So, are you still you? Think about this on a rainy evening. You look out the window, quietly, and you ask yourself, does the 8-year-old me still exist? And if not, then who is living this life now? The deeper you think, the more you see the paradox. We believe there is a consistent self, but we cannot find anything in us that does not change. You try to grasp it, but like water, the tighter you hold, the more it slips away. You call yourself me. But what is that? Is it this body? Your memories? The voice in your head? The name someone gave you? If you lost your memory, would you still be you? If you lived in a different body, would you still be yourself? If an artificial intelligence could replicate all your memories, your voice, your habits, your personality, would that copy be you? Some philosophers say the self is just an illusion of continuity. Like the flame of a candle, it seems constant, but is always changing moment by moment. A movement so seamless that we mistake it for a solid thing. So, maybe you are not a fixed entity. Maybe you are a flow, a process, a symphony being played, but never stopping on a single note. And the paradox is, the more you try to define who I am, the more you fall into a maze of words. Because any definition is just one part of the self, looking back at itself. A circle, a hand gripping its own wrist and calling it the real me. Try this. Close your eyes. Place a hand on your chest. Do not think, just feel. There is something breathing. There is a current of energy moving. No name, no form, no reason, just life. And maybe that is enough. What if everything is just a story in the brain? Try to imagine this. You wake up on a quiet morning. Soft sunlight filters through the curtains. You hear birds singing on the balcony. The smell of coffee drifts through the air. You stretch. You feel a slight ache in your shoulders. You look down at your hands and feel clearly your body is here, right now. But what if everything you feel is not real? What if that body does not exist? What if this room is not real? What if the outside world is just a signal being sent to your brain? And what if you are just a brain floating in a tank, connected to thousands of wires, receiving streams of data simulating a life? How would you know the difference? This is not science fiction. It is a famous thought experiment in philosophy. The brain in a vat. The idea is simple. If everything you experience, sights, sounds, emotions, are signals going into your brain, then with the right simulation, you would never know what is real or not. You might think you are walking on a beach. The breeze touches your skin, sand under your feet, the salt in the air. But in truth, it is all voltage being sent into your brain at the right intensity and frequency, and you believe completely that you are having a real experience. Now you might object, but I can feel my body. My emotions are real. I have memories. I have thoughts. And so, one question appears. Are those feelings enough proof that the world is real? Think about it. Have you ever had a dream? In that dream, you felt emotions. You cried. You loved someone. You were chased. You flew. And in those moments, you believed it was real. Only when you woke up did you realize it was a dream. So, is it possible that you have never truly woken up? I am not saying you are a brain in a tank, and I cannot prove otherwise. But what makes this experiment terrifying is not whether it is true or false. It is that there may be no way to ever know. No matter where you go, what you see, or what you experience. Everything passes through one single place, the brain. You never interact directly with the world. You interact with your brain's response to the world. And so, every reality you live in is just an interpretation, a consistent dream, a structured illusion. Have you ever felt something strange? The sense that you were not really present? Even though you were sitting right there, some part of you felt like it was observing from afar, a strange unfamiliarity, as if you were merely borrowing this body to live in. That might have been a moment of awakening, or a fleeting glimpse at the thin boundary between real and unreal, between the one who is living and the one who is thinking they are living. And now, a question that is not so comfortable. If you found out that this entire life was just a simulation, would you want to know? Or would you choose to keep living inside a peaceful illusion? Would you dare live inside a simulated paradise? Imagine this. A scientist comes to you with an offer. A machine has been built. It can place you into a perfect world by directly stimulating your brain. All you have to do is lie down. You would never know that you are inside a machine. You would truly believe that everything is real, and you would live out exactly the life you have always dreamed of. You could become a great artist, a space explorer, someone deeply loved, never betrayed. No more heartbreak, no more failure, only joy, only fulfillment, only the things that make life feel worth living. And then the scientist asks you, would you like to connect to this machine forever? Pause for a moment. Do not answer too quickly. Just feel it. Part of you might think, that sounds amazing. A life with no pain, a life with no fear. But something holds you back. Something feels off. Why? Why do we hesitate in front of a perfect offer? Could it be because you want real life more than just the feeling of life? You want something deeper than just comfort? You want relationships not because someone was programmed to love you, but because they chose to, freely? You might be happy in the machine, but would that still be you? You could touch your dreams. But if it is just a dream, does it still mean anything? This is the paradox of the experience machine, introduced by philosopher Robert Nozick. He asked, if pleasure is the highest value, then why do we not want to live in a happy dream? And the answer might send a chill down your spine, because maybe we do not just want happiness. We want it to be real. Think about it. A hug from your mother, a hand holding yours when you feel weak, a painting born from real pain, a smile after months of struggling with depression. If those moments were created by a line of code, would they still move you? You see, we are not just machines searching for pleasure. We are beings who crave meaning, and meaning cannot be programmed. Meaning only appears when there is choice, when there is risk, when there is pain, because without darkness, what would light even mean? But here is where your mind might begin to unravel. If you refuse to live in the machine, are you not choosing a world with pain instead of a paradise? And if you choose the machine, are you not giving up freedom, giving up reality? So then, who are you in that choice? Are you the seeker of pleasure or the seeker of truth? And if everything you feel in this life is just another version of a machine created by your brain, by society, by memories, then maybe you have already been in a machine all along, without ever knowing it. Take a look at your everyday life. We choose the food that makes us feel good. We choose the content that confirms what we already believe. We choose relationships that feel comfortable. We gradually build a kind of emotional simulator around ourselves, a world without contradiction, without challenge. We choose safety over truth that is hard to accept. So then, are we living, or are we being programmed to feel like we are living? And do you know what the paradox is? This question has no answer. You cannot know you are in the machine if the machine is perfect. And you cannot be sure you have escaped if the feeling of escape is also part of the program. The paradox of letting go. You want peace, and you have heard people say, if you want peace, you must learn to let go. So you begin a new journey, a journey to search for surrender. You meditate, you take deep breaths. You tell yourself, it is all right. Just let it pass. Just let go, and you will feel light. But then, you start to notice something. The more you try to let go, the more your heart clenches. The more you remind yourself to relax, the tighter your body becomes. The more you try to forget someone, the more vividly they show up in your mind. Why? Try this little experiment. Do not think about a pink elephant. Do not picture its shape, its curving trunk, its wide, flapping ears. Do not imagine it standing in your room, swaying its head and smiling. What did you see? You saw it. That is the paradox of the mind. When you try not to think of something, you are still thinking about it in a different form. You are giving it attention through your resistance. Now apply that to your emotions. You are hurt. You want to forget. You close your eyes. You tell yourself, let it go. It is not worth it. It is in the past. But deep down, you are still remembering, still asking, why did that happen? Could I have done something differently? Were they ever truly sincere? You call it letting go. But in truth, you are negotiating with your pain. You are still holding on, just in a different form. The form of someone who is trying not to hold on. The more you try to forget, the more you remember. The more you try to relax, the more you tighten. The more you try to feel calm, the more anxious you become. And when you realize that, you will see an even deeper paradox. Letting go cannot be done. It can only happen. Like falling asleep. You cannot force yourself to sleep. You can only set the stage. Turn off the lights. Lie down. Do nothing more. Then sleep comes. No one knows the exact moment they fall asleep. It is not an action. It is a sliding into. Letting go is the same. So then, when you are trying to let go, what are you actually holding? Maybe you are still holding the idea that, if I can let go, I will finally find peace. And that very desire becomes the anchor that holds you in place. Your mind is clever. It knows that if it succeeds in letting go, it will be rewarded with relief. So it clings harder, not to the pain, but to the reward after the letting go. It is like trying to relax your shoulders. You tense them for a moment, then try to release. But the very idea of having to relax makes you more tense. You are trying to control relaxation. And that is a paradox, because what is controlled is no longer natural. So, you cannot let go by doing something. You can only let go by stopping the effort. But even stopping the effort becomes another effort if you are not careful. And that is the dead end. The more you want to reach the state of doing nothing, the more you are doing too much. Your mind becomes a snake eating its own tail. Now you understand why so many people meditate for 5 years and still feel anxious. Because they are meditating to achieve awakening. Awakening becomes the goal, and goals require effort. Effort goes against what is natural. They try so hard to do nothing at all, and so they get exhausted. Maybe the answer does not lie in doing something more, but in simply seeing all the effort that is already happening and smiling at it. No fixing, no pushing, no forcing. Just being there, like a sky watching every storm. No need to chase the clouds. No need to summon the sun, just stillness. The paradox of being yourself. One day, you begin to feel like you are not living truthfully. You feel like you are wearing a mask. You smile when you do not want to. You say yes when your heart says no. You say, I am fine, even though your chest feels empty. So you decide, I need to live authentically. I must be myself. Sounds simple, right? Just be honest with your feelings. Just stay true to your values. Just stop pretending. But then you discover something strange. The more you try to be authentic, the more you feel like you are acting. Try to remember a moment like that. You are standing in front of the mirror. You ask yourself, who am I when no one else is looking? And so, you try to live differently. You dress the way you like. You speak your mind. You say no to the things you do not enjoy. But even in those moments, there is a part of you watching yourself. Be authentic. A quiet whisper inside asks, is this really me? Or am I just trying to perform a version of being real that I think is correct? Do you see it? It is like one mirror reflecting another mirror. Infinite reflections. No way to tell which is the original. The more you try to be yourself, the more you become obsessed with being the right version. You are afraid of being misunderstood. You want others to see you as genuine. But the moment you want someone else to see your truth, you have already slipped into the role of someone trying to prove they are real. And that is not real. So then, where does real even exist? Is there a pure, original self waiting for you to return? Or is the idea of a true self just a beautiful fantasy, born from exhaustion with all the other roles you have played? You once believed, when you peel away all the layers, you will arrive at your true self. But what if you peel away everything and there is nothing left underneath? How would that feel? That is what many people experience during existential crises. When they deconstruct all their beliefs, all their identities, all their roles, and in the end, they do not feel liberated. They feel hollow, no foundation, no real self. Just a person trying to figure out who they are and failing. The question becomes clearer. If you have to try to be yourself, maybe the self never existed in the way you thought. And if you stop trying, are you being real or are you just giving up? Another dead end appears. To the left is pretending. To the right is assumption. Ahead is emptiness. Behind is repetition. So then, what should you do? Maybe the answer does not lie in being authentic or returning to your true self. Maybe it lies in realizing that every version of you is temporary. Every thought, every mood, every role is just a passing wave on the surface of the ocean. No wave is the original, and no wave is fake. They are simply temporary shapes of the water, and you are the same. A stream of experiences. At one moment, the speaker. At another, the silent observer. Sometimes strong, sometimes soft, sometimes deep, sometimes messy. All of it is real because all of it is happening. No need to prove it. No need to hold on to it. They come and go. Maybe being yourself is not a fixed state, but an open space where everything is allowed to pass through without being trapped by a name. And when you stop trying, you may find yourself becoming more real than ever before. Not because you discovered your true self, but because you stopped rejecting anything that appeared. The paradox of control. Have you ever found yourself exhausted because you had to control everything? Your schedule, your emotions, your work, your relationships, your future. You try to plan every step. Try to stay one step ahead. Try not to let anyone down. Try not to make a mistake. Try to control your words, your actions, your reactions, so you do not mess it all up because you are afraid. Afraid of chaos, afraid of losing your way, afraid of being hurt, afraid of facing the unpredictable. But then something happens that you did not expect. It is the control itself that begins to control you. You fear negative emotions, so you try to avoid them. The result is you become even more sensitive to every little shift. One comment can ruin your day. One strange look makes you question everything. You want to keep everything in your hands, so you cannot relax. You are always on guard, always preparing for the worst. And so, control becomes a prison you cannot see. Think back to a morning when you woke up, already with a plan in your mind. Today must be productive. You open your eyes and immediately feel tense. You have not even gotten out of bed, and the pressure is already there. Because in your head, you already have a blueprint of the perfect day. And anything that does not follow that blueprint feels like a system failure. A late reply, someone shows up late, an unexpected rainstorm, an unstable emotion rising out of nowhere. All of it becomes a mistake that you have to fix. You think, if I do not control things, they will fall apart. But in reality, you are the one falling apart from trying to control everything. You are not living in the moment. You are living in the map of the moment. You are not touching life. You are touching the idea of life. You do not allow the unexpected. Do not allow yourself to be wrong. Do not allow others to change. Do not allow reality to unfold by itself. And that is when life stops being life and starts becoming a puzzle to be solved. Do you know what is even stranger? The more you try to control other people, the more your emotions are controlled by them. They are happy, you are calm. They grow distant, you panic. They do not meet your expectations, you begin to doubt yourself. You think you are leading the relationship, but really, your emotions are being led by the very things you cannot control. Now look at the bigger picture. All of modern society teaches you to control your productivity, control your appearance, control your finances, control your mindset. You learn how to optimize everything. You believe efficiency is the path to freedom. But if you pay attention, there is a quiet paradox unfolding. The more you optimize, the more unnatural you become. The more efficient you are, the more stressed you feel. The smarter you get, the more you overthink. The more choices you have, the more confused you become. A friend once told me, I set alarms every 20 minutes throughout my day. Every block of time had a clear goal. I ate on time, slept on time, exercised exactly 30 minutes. I meditated. I journaled. I read books. I studied new skills. And I felt like a machine, a perfect machine, but with no joy. You see, freedom does not come from how much you can control. It comes from how at ease you can be in the face of what you cannot control. But that does not mean we give up. It does not mean we stop caring. It means, instead of gripping reality, learn to move with it. Like surfing, you cannot control the waves. You only learn how to stay upright on them. Sometimes leaning, sometimes falling, sometimes gliding, sometimes crashing. But you are still moving with life. Who is thinking your thoughts? You are listening to me speak. Or more accurately, you are hearing the voice in your head. Read these words. Pause for a moment. Pay attention to that stream of thought. What is it saying? It might be whispering, "Oh, this part is interesting." Or, "I have thought about this before." Or maybe just, "Wow, this sounds a lot like me." Whatever it is saying, ask this question. Who is speaking? And who is listening? Seems simple, but if you really stop and listen, you will realize there is a voice constantly appearing in your mind. It talks about you. It talks to you. It comments, analyzes, judges, reacts, and you are so used to it. You start to believe it is you. But if you can hear it, then you are the one listening, not the voice itself. Just like you are not your ears. You are the one who hears through your ears. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees thoughts arise and pass. Still sounds vague? Try this example. When you get caught in a negative stream of thoughts, like, "I am terrible. Everyone will leave me. I am not good enough." You feel sad, worried, restless. And then you say, "I am stressed. I am overthinking." But look again. You did not choose those thoughts. They arrived uninvited. Without your consent, you do not even know why they came at that moment. They are like clouds drifting across the sky. You do not make the clouds. You cannot chase them away. You just notice them. So then, if you cannot control when thoughts come, cannot pick which thoughts appear, cannot even explain why they show up, could it be those thoughts are not really yours? You do not have to believe me. Just observe. Next time you are doing something, washing dishes, walking, shampooing, watch how many thoughts pop up suddenly. They do not follow your will. They do not wait for your permission. They do not care whether you want to hear them or not. They just come. And now, here is where the paradox begins to reveal itself. You think you can control your thoughts by thinking positively, by changing your mindset, by focusing on the good. But even that intention is just another thought. Thinking about how to stop thinking is still thinking. You see, the mind is a stream. And when you are standing in the river, you cannot grab the water. You can only let it pass. The more you try to block the water, the more you get swept away. So instead of asking, "How do I control my thoughts?" maybe you should ask, "How do I stop being controlled by my thoughts?" And the answer may not lie in effort, but in gentle awareness. Just notice. A thought is passing. Not good, not bad, not true, not false. Just another cloud in the sky. And if you stay patient, it is very likely you will hear something else begin to emerge behind the thoughts. Silence. No noise. No arguments. no explanation. Just a presence, quietly witnessing. And that may be the closest you have ever come to what people call your true self. The paradox of searching for happiness. You used to believe, when you have enough, you will finally be happy. When you have a stable job, when someone loves you exactly as you are, when your body is healthy and looks the way you want, when you have time to travel, rest, and enjoy life. And so you begin to run, running toward those things, bit by bit, milestone by milestone, goal after goal. Every time you achieve something, you feel joy for a while, but then that feeling fades faster than you expected, and you set the next goal. You begin to wonder, why do I still feel like something is missing? Why do I still feel uneasy, even when everything seems fine? And so you run again, this time thinking, maybe I have not found the right thing yet. Maybe I need to go further. Maybe I need to upgrade myself. You read more books, join workshops, try meditation, try detoxes, try healing, try everything to feel better. But the more you do, the more tangled you feel, more rushed, heavier. Do you see yourself in that? A person constantly searching for peace, and the more they search, the more they feel unsettled. A person who wants to feel enough, so they chase every method of self-development. A person who believes happiness is a destination, so they keep walking and never stop. That is the paradox of happiness. The more you chase it, the further it runs. Like a shadow in the fog, you see it ahead. You walk toward it. It moves forward too, and you keep chasing without realizing. It only appears when you stop looking for it. True happiness does not like the sound of running shoes. It likes silence. It likes moments without purpose. No striving, no measuring. Like when you sip a cup of tea. Not to reduce stress. Not to slow down. Just because you are thirsty. And the tea is warm. That is enough. Have you ever had a day like this? You wake up late, do nothing. Not productive, not meaningful. But in the afternoon, you feel unexpectedly light for no reason. You did not achieve anything. You just stopped trying to achieve. And suddenly, a kind of gentleness appears, uninvited, unforced. It just arrives. As you grow older, you are taught that happiness must be earned through effort, through success, through being the best. But if you look at children, you will see they laugh while running in circles around the house. They dance when they see a puddle. They are happy because they have not yet learned to search for happiness. So what changed? Not the world, not the conditions, but the way you define happiness. You turned it into a requirement, an achievement, a badge to prove that you did things right. And from that point on, happiness stops being a feeling. It becomes a task, a box to check off. You place happiness into tomorrow, into another person, into a destination. And so, you always live one step away from it. One step, then another, never quite reaching it. But if you sit down and ask yourself softly, right now, am I in pain? If not, then why can I not feel peace? You may realize happiness is not something you need to add. It is something you need to take away. Take away the pressure. Take away the expectations. Take away the question, should I be happier than this? Happiness from the outside. A soft but dangerous illusion. Have you ever thought to yourself, if I just had one more thing, I would finally feel enough? A quieter room. Someone who understands you better. A slimmer body, a more comfortable bank account, a clearer future. All of it makes sense. It is understandable. It is human. And it is also dangerous. Not because you are wrong for wanting things, but because, without realizing it, you have handed over your happiness to something else. Imagine this. You are holding a remote control. On it are buttons for joy, sadness, worry, and peace. But you are not holding the remote. Your partner is holding it. Your boss is holding it. Money is holding it. Your weight is holding it. Compliments are holding it. The entire world is holding it. And you only react to whichever button gets pushed from the outside. When someone texts you at the right moment, you feel cared for. When someone does not reply, you feel abandoned. When everything goes your way today, you smile. When one little thing goes wrong, you get irritated. You think the emotions are yours. But really, You are letting them be controlled remotely. And then, day after day, you live like an emotional dashboard, wired directly to the world. Everything can move you. Every condition can pull your mood up or down like a pulley. You are no longer the one living. You are being lived by your circumstances. That is why you are tired. Not because life is too hard, but because you no longer have space inside yourself. Everything is dictated from the outside. Every glance, every notification light, every number on a screen, every headline, every anonymous comment. You are not wrong to desire good things. But if you believe, I can only be happy once I have them, then you have already placed a shackle around your neck. Every external desire is a thread tying you down. Soft, comfortable, but still a thread. And when the world does not meet your expectations, you blame it. When someone does not fulfill your hope, you start to question yourself. When success does not come as planned, you begin to conclude, I am not enough. You see, anything you consider the source of your happiness is also something that can take it away. If you believe your partner is your happiness, you fear losing them. If you believe your job is your happiness, you fear being unemployed. If you believe your looks are your happiness, you fear aging. If you believe fame is your happiness, you fear being forgotten. Happiness becomes a loan with a very high emotional interest rate. You receive it, but you are always anxious about the day you have to give it back. There comes a moment of silence when you realize, even if you had everything out there, without peace in here, you would still feel empty. So, should we stop wanting things? Should we not desire anything? Should we live like monks and reject the world? No. Desire is part of being human. The problem is not with desire itself. It is in how we depend on it to feel alive. You can want to be loved, but you do not need someone to love you in order to feel worthy. You can like money, but you do not need to have enough of it in order to feel at peace. You can dream of success, but you do not need to succeed in order to feel that your life matters. True happiness does not come from owning everything. It comes from realizing nothing has the power to own you. And from that moment, you start to live differently. You still work, still love, still get disappointed, still hope, but you no longer trade your inner peace for any of it. You hold on to the remote control. You do not need to press any button. You just need to remember, it was never in anyone else's hands. If there were no movement, no change, no memory, would you even know that time is passing? Try to imagine this. You wake up one morning, and everything around you is completely still. No one is moving. No wind, no sound, no thought in your mind, no sense that you lived yesterday. You think you are in control, but most of the time, you are simply following after your mind. So if you do not own material things, do not own your body, do not own your emotions, do not even own your thoughts, then what do you actually own? The answer may leave you silent. Nothing. And maybe everything. Because when you stop clinging to the idea of ownership, you begin to see a gentle truth. There is nothing you need to hold and nothing that needs to be held. No longer is there a self in the center, gathering things. No more separation between me and mine. Everything is simply flowing through you, and you are the open space that allows it all to appear. You are not the one collecting experiences. You are the space where experience happens. You are not the one owning life. You are the current through which life flows, and from that, everything becomes light. Not because you let go, but because you realize there was never anything to hold. You do not need to own nothing in order to feel this freedom. You only need to see through the illusion of ownership. There is nothing wrong with loving someone, keeping something, or building a home. But the moment you believe you need them to be yourself, that is when you begin to be owned. It is not that you hold the phone begins to hold you. It is not that you love someone, you rely on them to define who you are. And something magical happens when you see this. You can still love deeply, live fully, enjoy completely, but inside, you remain empty. Not heavy, not clinging, not needing to keep. You live with everything, but no longer as the owner, just as a companion. You do not own even yourself, but you are always here. You once believed, if you lost everything, you would stop being yourself. Lose your job, lose a loved one, lose your memory, lose the idea of me. You thought if you owned nothing, you would fall into nothingness, disappear, vanish. But the paradox is, when you are no longer holding anything, something still remains. And that may be the truest thing you have ever known. So, if you do not own your body, because it changes every day, do not own your memories, because you cannot remember them exactly as they were. Do not own your thoughts, because they come and go like clouds in the sky. Do not own your emotions, because you are sad in the morning, joyful by afternoon, and hollow at night. Then what is you? Who remains when everything dissolves? Imagine yourself lying still, no words, no memory, no identity to hold on to. And yet, something is still aware of that. A presence, no name, no past, no approval needed. Just here. Many traditions have arrived at this space of reflection. Buddhism speaks of anatta, the absence of a fixed self. Taoism speaks of emptiness, the space where all things are born. Western philosophy once asked, if everything is taken from you, what remains that cannot be taken? The answer never had a shape, because the question was never meant to be answered. It was meant to be met with silence. And when you truly sit still, without trying to remember, without trying to understand, without trying to control, just here, you may begin to realize you were never the one holding everything. You were never the owner. You are the quiet foundation, where all things come and go. Thoughts come, you see them. Then they leave. Emotions rise, you feel them. Then they fade. You carry nothing. And yet, you are not lacking. You are empty, but not lost. You are stripped of all definitions, but you have not disappeared. And then a new question appears, soft as breath. If there is nothing left to hold, then what is there left to lose? You are not the stream of life. You are the one who sees it flowing. You do not need to find the answer. You just need to see clearly that every question also comes and goes, like clouds. And in that moment, a door opens. Not a door that leads to something new, but a door that leads you back to what has never left. When there is nothing left to understand you, no longer need to understand anything. You have come a long way, truly far. You have traveled through questions that seemed simple, but opened vast canyons inside your perception. Letting go, freedom, the self, time, will, emotions, truth, existence. All of it has been examined, has been questioned, has been turned inside out, one layer at a time. And now, there is nothing more you need. No new paradox, no more impressive idea, no wiser example. You do not need to think deeper. You do not need to understand better. You have come far enough to realize this. Clarity does not come from intellect. It comes from silence. Close your eyes just for a few seconds. Do not try to meditate. Do not try to observe your breath. Do not try to listen within. Just sit with yourself. No goal, no answer. Do you feel something? A wide space, without shape, as light as mist. And you are present within it. You might feel light. You might feel empty. You might feel like nothing at all. And all of that is perfectly fine. There is no state that is higher, no mind that is better. There is only what is just as it is. You do not need to chase silence. You just need to stop judging the noise. You do not need to be clear about anything. You just need to recognize that not knowing also has a place. You have spent your life explaining, analyzing, interpreting, arguing. But maybe the mind is not the final place to put your trust. Maybe there is something deeper, something that does not speak, does not think, does not prove, and yet it is alive within you, like a silent ground where every river of questions finally comes to rest. Not because you found the answer, but because you no longer need to ask. And there, a strange feeling appears. Not joy, not sadness, not excitement, not depression. Just an unconditional acceptance. Acceptance that you do not know. Acceptance that everything is as it is. Acceptance that you do not need to become any other version of yourself. Acceptance that You no longer need to understand anything in order to live fully. This is not resignation. This is surrender in peace. The end of a race that never had a finish line. And in that stopping, something opens, something you cannot name, but you recognize it. You have always known it. From before you could speak, from before you knew who you were, it was already there. When you laughed for no reason, when you looked at the evening sky and felt nothing but stillness. When a piece of music left you quiet, no words, no ideas, just a soft sense that everything is okay, even if you cannot explain why. The moment when there are no more questions. We have come very far, from simple paradoxes to layers of awareness, where even the concept of concepts no longer fits. From letting go to not being able to let go. From being yourself to the place where self dissolves. From questions about thoughts, time, and the observer, to the ultimate question. What is left when everything disappears? But maybe, now, you no longer need any more questions. Not because you have the answers, but because you have seen. Not every question needs to be answered. Do you realize this? Every paradox, no matter how strange, shares something in common. They cannot be solved with logic. They can only be seen from a place beyond analysis. No more words, no more names, no more concepts, only direct knowing. Maybe this is the place the old sages called the pathless path. Not because it cannot be walked, but because you cannot walk it with ordinary feet. You cannot go there with knowledge. You cannot go there with logic. You cannot go there with achievements. You cannot go there with effort. You can only let go and fall in. Fall into what? Into a place with no name, no you, no goal, no need to become anything. An inner space within you where everything happens but nothing is held on to. Have you ever sat quietly beside someone who said nothing? No talking, no doing, just being there. And even without speaking, you still felt deeply connected because something beyond words was present. Now imagine doing that with yourself. You do not need to understand yourself. You do not need to fix yourself. You do not need to build yourself. You just need to sit with yourself long enough, deep enough, for no reason, with no expectation, with no judgment, and then you will see. Inside you is not as empty as you think, not meaningless, not chaotic, but full of a quiet aliveness. A soft glow that does not need to shine. A presence that does not need to prove itself. A gentle current flowing through every silent minute you sit still. From here on, you do not need anyone to guide you. You do not need any philosophy to support you. You do not need any thought to explain. You do not need to force. You do not need to know. You do not need to become anything. You have always been exactly what you were looking for. You were just too busy searching to see it. And now you are no longer searching, and there is nothing left to see. Only a simple presence remains, quiet, gentle, like the empty space inside a seashell, like the sky between two clouds, like you, not decorated, not repaired, not defined, just present and enough. When all has passed, and you are still here, 3 hours have passed. No rush, no hurry, just each thought, each paradox, each question like gentle leaves drifting across a still lake. You have heard it all. You have seen everything flipped upside down. What was right no longer feels right. What was wrong no longer feels wrong. What was true keeps changing. What was false now has some strange truth in it. Every question that once seemed to bring clarity only led you deeper into mystery. But maybe that is where real knowing begins. Not the kind of knowing you can answer, not the kind of knowing you can teach, but a wordless kind of knowing with no reason, no defense, no need to prove. Like how you know you are breathing without anyone needing to tell you. You know the sun is warm. You know the wind is soft. You know your heart is beating, not through thinking, not through measuring, but through a deeper intuition, deeper than understanding. And if you look closely, you might see this entire journey did not lead you to any answer. It only brought you back to where you started. But this time, you are fully here, not trying to be yourself, not trying to become someone else, just sitting, listening, breathing, knowing, doing nothing at all. Like a lake that no longer ripples, like a clock that no longer ticks, like the last question that no longer echoes. And you are no longer the one asking, no longer the one thinking, no longer the one trying to understand. You are simply the one who sees. Nothing more, nothing less. Quiet, as if it never began. Do you remember the beginning, when you clicked on this video? Maybe you were just looking for something to relax you. Something strange, gentle, and soothing. A voice that did not push. A journey that had nowhere to go. You did not expect that. The thoughts you once believed were yours would start to feel foreign. The beliefs you once held tightly would become fragile, like mist. And the self you thought you knew might turn out to be just an echo. But you do not need to understand all of that. You do not need to remember every paradox. You do not need to take notes on anything. You do not need to carry anything with you after this video ends. You only need to return to yourself, but in a new way. Do not rush to find something profound. Do not long to be awakened. Do not try to change. Just be present, soft as breath, gentle as the space between two thoughts, still as the moment just before sleep takes you. And if there is one last thing to say, it is not an idea, not a conclusion, just a small greeting from me to the quietest part within you, the part that does not need words, does not need images, does not need anything except to be. If you are hearing this, then you are still here, not as a student, not as a seeker, not as a mind trying to analyze, but as a life quietly breathing. No one needs to know you finished this video. No need to share. No need to apply anything. No need to name what just happened. Maybe the most profound thing is the one that cannot be named. Thank you for sitting still, for listening, for letting all the paradoxes dissolve into silence. See you again, not in a new place, but in the same still point that has always been here, within you. Now, go to sleep. No need to try. No need to be calm. No need to stop the thoughts. Just let the mind drift. And you just stay. In this Chrysians, everything is a silent present. In that moment, would you know you were inside of time? Or would you simply be inside something else with no name? Modern physicists are beginning to admit something. Time may not be an objective constant. It might be a byproduct of observation. In the theory of relativity, time does not flow the same for everyone. The faster someone moves, the slower time flows for them. At the edge of a black hole, 1 second can equal years of light traveling elsewhere. And if that is true, then time is not a steady stream. It is a fabric bending under gravity, speed, and perception. But even without physics, you can feel something deeply human. Now is the only thing you have ever truly had. You have never lived in the past. You are only remembering it right now. You have never lived in the future. You are only imagining it right now. Your entire life is really just a series of present moments held together by memory. So if time is an illusion, if there is no later, then what does now even mean? Are you living inside a flowing stream, or are you simply flickering through a continuous flash of moments? Does that sound strange? Observe a very small experience. When you are completely focused on something, painting, playing music, playing a sport, or even just washing dishes, you are not thinking about the past. You are not worried about the future. You do not feel time passing. You are just there, fully immersed in each action. No separation between the one doing and the thing being done. In that moment, you are not inside time. You are in a state of pure presence. And oddly enough, those are the moments that feel most alive. You cannot measure them. You cannot record them. You cannot capture them with a clock. You can only feel them through presence. Do you see now? Time is not something passing through you. Maybe you are what passes through it. Or more accurately, perhaps both are illusions. And what is left is awareness itself. No beginning, no ending, no before, no after, only this moment. And the strange wonder of realizing you are here. Who is looking through these eyes? Pause for a second and look around the room you are sitting in. Do not name the objects. Do not categorize anything. Just look. The light, the ceiling, a small scratch on the table, the reflection on the floor, a shadow hiding in the corner. Images appear quietly, without effort. Now close your eyes. Listen. a sound far away, a sound close by, maybe a fan, your breath. Then you begin to notice the stream of thought passing through. It might say, "Am I doing this right?" This feels strangely peaceful. You did not choose those sounds. You did not choose those thoughts. They arrive, then leave. But one thing never changes. Something is witnessing all of it. The question is, what is seeing? What is listening? Who is aware of these experiences without being the experiences themselves? You are not the noise because you are hearing the noise. You are not the thought because you are watching the thought appear and disappear. You are not the emotion because emotions change and you are still here to see them change. So, what are you? There is a very strange feeling that arises when you truly sit still and ask, who is sitting here? Not, what is my name? Not, what is my job? Not, who do I think I am? But, what is present before any thought appears? Some people call it awareness. Others call it the witness. Some call it the soul. Some call it God within. And some do not call it anything at all. Because any name you give it is just another thought. And you are the one seeing that thought. You are always the one behind the name. Like a mirror, it reflects everything, but it never becomes what it reflects. No matter how angry, joyful, sad, or overwhelmed you are, the awareness of those emotions is never stained by any of them. It does not age. It does not scratch. It is not touched by experience. It simply knows. And that knowing is you, not the one controlling the experience, not the one trying to see more clearly, but the foundation on which all experience appears. Thoughts come and go. Emotions come and go. The body changes. The world changes. But that knowing does not move. It is just there, quiet, formless, colorless, without boundaries. And when you let the mind stop asking, stop analyzing, stop trying to understand, what remains is a clear sensation. I am here. No proof needed. No label required. Just pure presence, observing it all. Maybe this is what the ancients called pure awareness. Not born, not destroyed. Unaffected by what comes and goes. Undefined by past or future. And the greatest paradox of all, you cannot look at it like an object because you are it. The eye cannot see itself. Light cannot shine on itself. You cannot become an image of what you are because all images appear inside of you. So instead of asking, who am I? Maybe you only need to pause, be still, and recognize that you are already seeing. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to become anyone. You do not need to explain. You are already that. Even before you started searching, when you own nothing, not even yourself, look around once more. Everything you are seeing, you once called mine. The phone in your hand, the shirt you are wearing, the room you are sitting in, the notebook, the bed, the old photos in the album, all of it has been labeled mine. But have you ever asked how much of it actually belongs to you? One day, everything you own will leave you. It might be lost, sold, given away, or simply broken down by time. You cannot keep a pair of shoes forever. You cannot keep a shirt forever. You cannot hold on to any material thing, no matter how deeply you call it yours. Then you might say, that is fine. Material things are external. What I truly own is myself. But think again. Did you create your own body? It grew, aged, and changed without your permission. You do not control your heartbeat. You do not command your cells to divide. You do not know when your hair will turn gray, your skin will wrinkle, your back will bend. You are only living in it temporarily, like a guest in a house that is slowly decaying. And your mind? Do you really own your thoughts? They arrive unannounced. One moment you love, the next you hate. One day you want closeness. The next you want to escape the entire world. You cannot choose what you will feel tomorrow morning. You cannot predict what you will think in the next 10 minutes.